The Pittsburgh Steelers opened their season with pure fireworks, a heart-stopping 34-32 victory over the New York Jets that had fans on the edge of their seats until the very last second. The hero? Chris Boswell, drilling an unbelievable 60-yard game-winning field goal that silenced the crowd and lit up Steelers Nation. And how about Aaron Rodgers? In his very first game wearing the black and gold, Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns and reminded the world why he's still one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in football. For Steelers fans, it's been a long time since winning because of offensive firepower, and man, did it feel good tonight. High voltage, but before we dive deeper into the biggest plays, the injuries, and the players who stood out, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the latest Steelers news. Now, let's get into the fresh details from this wild matchup. High voltage while Rodgers stole the spotlight. The night wasn't without concern. Safety Deshaun Elliott left the game with a knee injury. Cornerback Joey Porter Jr. also exited with issues, and linebacker Malik Harrison went down late. Updates on their conditions will be crucial moving forward. Still, nothing could overshadow the performance Rodgers put on display. No interceptions, a quarterback rating soaring over 135, and the poise of a future Hall of Famer. Facing off against Justin Fields, who was impressive in his own right for the Jets, Rodgers proved he was the sharper, more clutch quarterback when it mattered most. Tonight, Steelers fans didn't just get a win. They got a glimpse of what could be a thrilling season ahead. Some might argue that the Jets' defense just wasn't sharp, but what really stood out was how Aaron Rodgers carried the Steelers in a shootout. Scoring 34 points to secure a win is no small feat, and doing it against his former team made it even sweeter. You could see it on his face. Rodgers wanted this one badly, and he delivered. But Rodgers wasn't the only difference maker. Kenneth Gainwell came up huge with one of the game's defining moments. After a Steelers touchdown cut the lead to just 2, Gainwell ripped the ball loose from Jets return man Xavier Gibson, flipping the momentum completely. Moments later, Rodgers turned that turnover into points. Gainwell didn't rack up big rushing numbers, but that single play on special teams shifted the game in Pittsburgh's favor, the kind of clutch contribution that earns respect in the locker room. Then there's Calvin Austin III, a player who's been doubted, dismissed, even overlooked by his own fan base. Today, he silenced every critic. Austin not only pulled in 4 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, but he also drew a crucial penalty on the final drive that set up the winning kick. Rodgers clearly trusts him to get separation, and that trust showed. For the first time, Austin is playing with a quarterback who sees the entire field, and the results are already paying off. He's proving he's not just a role player. He's the Steelers' true WR2 moving forward. And finally, the man who sealed it all, Chris Boswell. When the game was on the line, Boswell drilled 59 and 60-yard field goals like it was nothing. Perfect on every attempt, he finished 6 for 6 and reminded everyone why he's one of the most reliable kickers in football. Without his calm under pressure, the Steelers don't walk away with this win. This wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. Pittsburgh showed grit. Playmakers stepped up in all 3 phases, and the black and gold walked off with a win that fans won't forget anytime soon. And let's not forget about Jalen Ramsey, who brought an edge to this game that numbers don't fully capture. He didn't come away with an interception or a strip, but his presence changed the entire mood of the defense. Late in the first half, Ramsey delivered a crushing hit on Justin Fields that instantly lit a fire under the Steelers' sideline. It wasn't just a tackle, it was a message. Pittsburgh wasn't backing down. Then came the play of the night for the defense. 4th and 3, Fields improvising under pressure, finding Garrett Wilson with a chance to keep the Jets alive. Out of nowhere, Ramsey closed the gap with lightning speed and knocked the ball away at the last possible second. That single moment was a dagger, a reminder of why the Steelers went out and brought him to Pittsburgh. His energy, his physicality, his ability to rise when the game hangs in the balance. That's what makes a defense dangerous. So now the question is this: who was the real MVP of this game? Some will say Rodgers, because 4 touchdowns and a flawless debut speak for themselves. Others will point to Chris Boswell, who calmly nailed kicks from nearly impossible distance to seal the win. And you could make the case for Ramsey, whose intensity kept the defense alive when it mattered most. One thing is clear: this victory wasn't about one man. It was about a team finding its heartbeat in Week 1. All right, let's talk about the big takeaways from Week 1. Because this game revealed something Steelers fans haven't seen in a long time. Pittsburgh can actually win with offense. For years, the blueprint was simple. Keep it low scoring, let the defense dominate, and hope the offense does just enough to sneak by. But tonight flipped that script. The defense gave up 32 points, and yet the Steelers still walked away with a victory, on the road, in a tough environment, against stars like Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. Dropping 34 points in that situation says one thing loud and clear. This team isn't limited to just one style of football anymore. They can grind it out on special teams, they can rely on defense when it's sharp, and now, finally, they can go toe-to-toe in a shootout. That flexibility makes them dangerous. But let's be real, the defense has to be better. The Jets' offensive line was moving bodies all game, giving Breece Hall lanes to burst through and letting Justin Fields escape pressure far too often. Missed sacks, missed tackles, breakdowns in coverage. It was messy. Yes, Ramsey and company came up big late, but you don't want to be living on last-minute stops every week. And that brings us to next week. Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks are coming into Acrisure Stadium, and if Pittsburgh's front seven doesn't stiffen up, they're going to have problems again. The run defense in particular needs to tighten, because against mobile quarterbacks, we've seen this story before. Last year's playoff loss to Baltimore comes to mind, where the defense just couldn't contain the ground game. The difference now? This time, Pittsburgh has Aaron Rodgers. And as we just saw, that alone can turn what once would have been a frustrating loss into a thrilling victory. The biggest issue that jumped off the screen in this game? The trenches. Justin Fields ran wild. Breece Hall ripped off chunk gains of 15 and 17 yards, and the Steelers simply couldn't get control of the line of scrimmage. The frustrating part is that the talent is there, names, size, athleticism. But schematically, something isn't clicking, and it showed. The run defense, which should be a strength, looked vulnerable from start to finish. And it wasn't just the defense. Offensively, Pittsburgh barely cracked 60 rushing yards. Rodgers carried the team with his arm, and while it's a relief to know he still can, that can't be the long-term formula. Arthur Smith's style is built on balance and power football. To win consistently, this team has to dominate up front, and they didn't. One glaring concern was Broderick Jones. Simply put, he looked overwhelmed. Against guys like Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald, he was beaten again and again, often before Rodgers could even settle into the pocket. It's part of the growing pains for a young tackle, but if Jones doesn't level up quickly, it could become a weekly liability. Then there's Keanu Benton. He's a promising player, but lining him up at nose tackle is asking him to be something he isn't. At 300 pounds, he's disruptive and strong, but he's not built to absorb constant double teams and hold ground like a true two-gap anchor. Against the Jets, he was pushed backward far too often, and that opened lanes that New York exploited all night. Bottom line, until the Steelers figure out the trenches, both on defense and offense, they'll struggle to control games. Rodgers can mask some of those flaws, but he can't carry the load every week. This team needs its big men to step up, or the season could quickly get complicated. One adjustment I'd like to see moving forward is how the Steelers use their defensive front. Keanu Benton looks more natural at the three-technique spot, where his quickness can cause disruption, while Montravius Adams or another true nose tackle could handle those heavy double teams. Right now, the alignment feels off, and it showed in how easily the Jets opened running lanes. On offense, it's becoming clear that Calvin Austin III has locked in the number 2 receiver role. Many thought rookie Roman Wilson might claim that spot because of his blocking ability, something Arthur Smith values in his schemes. But Austin got the snaps, the targets, and the production. A touchdown, multiple chunk plays, and Rodgers' trust in critical moments leave little doubt about where he stands. Wilson may develop as the year goes on, but Austin has already carved out his place. And while the night belonged to the Steelers, I have to give credit to Justin Fields. He looked sharp in his Jets debut, completing 16 of 22 passes, showing improved decision-making, and making several clutch throws on third down. He was quicker with his reads, more accurate on the move, and even though Rodgers outshined him, Fields proved he might finally be finding the right system to grow in. For a player who needed a fresh start, this was promising. As for Pittsburgh, I'd grade this one AB+. Not perfect, the defense gave up too much, the offensive line struggled, and the run game was non-existent. But the fact that the Steelers could still put up 34 points on the road, while trailing most of the game, speaks volumes. This offense hasn't cracked 30 consistently in years, and Rodgers is just beginning to build chemistry with his weapons. There's too much defensive talent for this unit to keep surrendering 30+ every week, and once the line steadies itself, this team has the balance to contend. Week 1 showed something Pittsburgh fans haven't felt in a while. If the defense stumbles, the offense is finally capable of carrying the load. And with Rodgers at the helm, this season could get very interesting.